Welcome back to another panel from Dragonsteel Nexus 2024. CosmereConnections was graciously offered a chance to come host a few panels at the famous Brandon Sanderson convention. This here is ReaderWarriors. He was on a panel with some awesome folks talking about fan fiction, which is something he's been passionate about for a long time. So this is a really good one. I hope you enjoy it.
It's 10 o'clock, so we might as well get started. I will turn on this little guy. Yes. So we wanted to start the panel by asking just to get a rough survey of who all we have represented here. So who all here reads fanfic? And we have if everyone could kind of like make some noise.
Make some noise.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes, Mikah's blind, so we want to make sure that all cues are auditory. Then you want to ask the next? Who writes it?
Who writes fanfic? Yeah.
And who's interested in reading fanfic?
But doesn't know where to start.
Yeah,
like,
interested,
but yeah.
Looking for a place to get started, because there's a lot of it.
All right, and who is curious to like write fanfic, but kind of hasn't really figured out how to do it yet? Excellent.
So we have a lot of readers and writers here.
Fabulous. And what kinds of fanfics do people gravitate to? Like, who likes like romance and shipping fics? Yes, excellent.
Where are my hurt comfort frogs at?
Who here reads crossover fanfics? Thank you.
Excellent. Who likes character studies?
Who likes just exploring the weirdest possibilities that pop into your head at 2 in the morning?
Excellent. So yeah, we have a really great group of folks. We also have a really great group of panelists. So if you want to start with Z, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Zoe Hatch. I work at the warehouse, but you can call me Z. I primarily write a lot of hurt comfort, found family, angst, that whole stuff. But yeah, I haven't written or read any Brandon Sanderson fanfics yet, so this is a good chance for me to get, hooked.
Excellent.
Nice.
Micah?
I'm Micah. I'm AO3 user BlindRadiant. I post a lot of fic about various things: canon divergence, character studies, hurt comfort, angst, fluff. I write a lot of unusual perspectives and just exploring things that pop into my head, mostly one-shots, but I do long fics also. I've posted a lot of Stormlight fanfic. I've read a lot of Stormlight fanfic. I've posted 40% of the fics that involve Zeth as a character. So.
They're obsessed.
Hello, my name is Matthew Grady. I go by the pen name ReaderWarrior on Fanfiction. I'm trying to push over to AO3, but slowly. I do 2 crossover fanfics, Metal Like Roses and My Mistborn Academia. Pretty sure one you can tell which crosses over into which universe.
Just a little.
Yeah.
I am Priscilla Spencer. I'm an art coordinator for Dragonsteel, and I am the only Dragonsteel employee that would confess to reading and writing fan fiction for Brandon's works, though I'm actually not sure if that could actually be accurate, because I had to teach Isaac Stewart and Ben McSweeney the word chicadolin. So, but yes, reading-wise, my interests are very varied, but writing-wise, I do pretty much exclusively shippy stuff. Just because it takes me a long time to write, and typically my only writing time is when I need to be with my characters, and I need them to have emotions. So, yes, it's a good time. Please go ahead.
Before we start, can I just say welcome to Dragonsteel Nexus 2024, everybody. I'm putting on my resume, opening panelist.
Inaugural panelist for the inaugural Dragonsteel Nexus.
Yeah. Woo.
Sweet. So thank you all so much for waking up early and being here with us. And because we appreciate y'all so much, we also want to start by talking about the community. We have, I feel like fan fiction is really all about the community, whether it's people, even just a matter of liking and commenting, basically the manna for all fanfic writers. But then there are also ways that fans can get involved. So if someone wants to start by talking about that.
I mean, I run on comments and kudos on AO3. It's the
Comments tweet us.
Yes, it's the sole reason. Not sole reason why I do it. I do like writing, but having people reach out in any way and be like, hey, the way that you crafted this, like, is either inspiring or it's comforting or it made me feel emotions, whether good or bad. I think that that's just reaching out to your favorite creators on AO3 or on their Twitter or Tumblr. Like, I think it makes you want to do more. There's nothing quite like having someone comment on a fic that is on indefinite hiatus, and you get a little bit of that spark back. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, the comments and the engagement are really what makes the community run and keep going, and it makes it feel alive and dynamic. And it can also lead to unexpected friendships and inside jokes and just things that wouldn't exist without either the fanfic creators or the people engaging with it. And it's just a very important thing to keep the excitement and the community engagement and the hype going.
So I'm going to shift slightly to like ways that like the writer community also has kind of like gelled together, and like ways of like making friends in the fandom, like stuff like fic exchanges and like the blank memes that we cannot talk about because this is a family-friendly panel. But yes, like how have you found your people within your various fandoms?
Oh, for me, I reached out to a fanfic writer that I really like on Tumblr with an idea at 3 a.m. I was like, I have so much angst for you. You don't have any idea. And it had it's like our year anniversary of knowing each other coming up, which is really exciting. And through them, I was invited to a Discord with their writer friends, and we did an entire like themed like prompt fic series together, and it was really fun. So, you know, opportunities come. Please reach out to your fellow authors.
Yes, definitely.
We want to write.
And I got involved in community by commenting on somebody's fic on AO3 and starting kind of a back and forth there, and then I got invited to a Discord server. And here I am over 3 years later, having done some fic exchanges, some co-writing, a lot of just writing within Discord itself, and having ideas and engagement and going in directions I never would have gone in on my own without being involved in the community.
I would say my community engagement is, you always get comments, or there are quite a lot of comments, be it in fanfiction or normal writing, of, hey, here's this cool idea, maybe you can use. And I had that idea for one fic, I don't remember which one it is. But as awesome as those comments are, use your own ideas, write your own story. And like, it's cool to have people tell us like these cool things, and we may or may not steal from it later down the line. But you have an idea, you should run with it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like all of us got started because we're like, well, no one is writing what I want to read, and so I guess it falls upon me to be the person to bring that into the world. I can't just keep hallucinating it vividly in my mind.
Fanfic is all about self-indulgence.
Yes, very much so. But yes, so what are some, like if people are wanting to get involved in like various like fic exchanges, where have you seen that people can kind of activate in that? Like I know that, I guess I'll get things started so that I'm not like asking you to feed me the answers that I'm looking for. Like in like Inktober, like mostly that began as a fan art thing, but a lot of fanfic writers were like, well, like writing also uses ink, and so people have been taking a lot of those prompts and then writing either short fics or like longer kind of chapter length fic, or like multi-chapter fics where each chapter is prompted by one of those things. So yeah, like Inktober is a great way to kind of like get your toe in the door in that way. I feel like one thing that I think that we as a fandom need to do better at is kind of having a more open door policy for there to be more communities that people can just like come into without needing to really be invited to.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much of the internet has shifted from like LiveJournal and Dreamwidth and those kind of places where people can just hop in and join a conversation, to places like Discord that are more invite only. And then the non-invite only places like 17th Shard, like I feel like they're not as friendly to fanfic as they should be. And especially part of that is kind of the illusion that fan art is, and like the subreddits, because like fan art takes a much shorter time to respond to than fanfic does. Like it's more of a time commitment, and so you'll see like a lot of comment reacts and stuff on fan art, but of course much fewer on fanfic, and so that can feel demoralizing, even if logically we understand the reason why. But so yes. So Inktober is a great way, like there is to get involved and also like be seen and potentially get invited into one of those various communities. There are so many of them. Then like there recently was that, oh my gosh, why am I spacing on the name of the fic exchange that just happened?
The Cosmere minivan?
Yes, yes. And so in that circumstance, like basically it was open to everyone. Everyone could participate. They would just kind of submit that they wanted to join a thing and say like, oh yeah, this is what I'm planning on writing. And then the organizer paired people with fan artists that were also interested in writing about those types of topics. And so that was a way of kind of like getting fanfic writers and fan artists kind of like on the same page, working with each other. There's also Fem/February that is going to be coming up because they're like of the like there's a lot of male-female fanfic, there's a lot of male-male fanfic, but there's just not a whole lot of female-female fanfic or like other genders. And so that is kind of a way of kind of rectifying that inequity. What are some other kind of community action things that you guys have noticed?
I love Womptober. Sorry. I love the monthly prompts. It's so good, and the expectation that you can do some of them and not all of them, or you can combine them. I think that's really important because if I feel like I get discouraged if like I have like a certain checklist of things I need to include, but if I'm allowed to just like kind of have at it, I have a much more fun time. I've only ever completed Inktober once, so if I ever do Womptober, I'll be so happy.
Yeah, I second the Inktober. I've done the writing version of it since you don't want a blind person trying to draw art.
I do.
But I've done a few. I've never filled all of the prompts for Inktober. I think the most I've done is 12. But it's just fun to think of these prompts and think how they could relate to the characters or to aspects of the world that I want to explore. Usually I do it in about 100 words, and it's a fun challenge. But also there was the Cosmere bingo that didn't really take off, but it was a thing. I wrote 4 things for it, and I have an idea for the 5th one. I just haven't done it yet. But that can be a fun thing to have, just little prompts to fill and ideas to explore in just like a broad thing, such as a time loop or first meeting or something along those lines.
And that was another thing that just is open to everyone to participate. Basically, they just sort of, they just put their name on a form and then they got that bingo card and they could fill it out however they wanted and try to figure out like, oh, like if I write this fic and this fic and this fic, like, oh yeah, make a bingo.
I think that you can also indulge in a little bit of crack fic crossovers. Let me tell you, the Danny Phantom and DC crossover is the best. You guys should all read some, honestly. It is crazy how well they work. But if you get, I got involved in that community, and...
Are you okay?
You're not my therapist. And not in front of a group of people. Anywho, if you get involved in those niche communities, since they're so small and interconnected, they will pull you in. You are the insect in their spider web, and they will find you, and it's the best. Let me tell you, it's so good.
Any last minute thoughts before we move on to the next subject?
I would like to recommend joining whatever creative writing society club might be around your place of university, school, business. Just look up some cool things. National Writing Month that's also like a great way to just, even doing fan fiction, just focus on. When I first started doing my fanfics, it was literally do 3 pages a day, post it, and that was a chapter. And looking back, that's why those chapters weren't that good.
Or NaNoWriMo is always an option.
But also, like, once those words are out, you can edit them.
Yeah, definitely.
Oftentimes the hardest thing is just like getting those initial words to the page.
You can edit some bad writing, but you can't edit a blank page.
Yes.
Definitely.
And just so y'all know, in about 15 minutes, we're gonna have some audience questions, and so like kind of plan for that. We'll have people line up next to that microphone that's sitting on that seat in the second row. So just like, yeah,
If you can't
start
see it,
thinking
it
about
is
what
there.
questions you might want to ask.
I can't see it.
We are going to be recording the people who come up so we can kind of get like that video. So if you don't want to be recorded on that, sorry.
Or just like let us know and
Let
like
us
you can
know.
blur your face out or
We'll cover the camera.
yeah, that works. Okay, so oftentimes like there are things that we want to write about that we are not necessarily subject matter experts in or do not have first-person experience in. How do you go about kind of handling those responsibly?
Ask people who are in those communities. There's nothing quite like being an autistic person and reading a fic where someone who has stated that they are not autistic is trying to write an autistic character, and you're kind of like, you got close, you did good. But if you had maybe asked one of us, we could have helped you. That's the same thing with the LGBTQ community. If you're not of something, you can ask. It's like, questions are always welcome. We love questions.
Yeah, I second that. Ask questions, read fanfics written by people that have those experiences, or just even not fanfics, just blogs or anything where somebody is really digging into what it's like to be that person, or be in that kind of demographic or community or experience.
Definitely ask questions. I've got a friend, Logan, back at my university, and I keep asking them random questions about their, I don't want to say lifestyle, how their transition into being they, them, and how they view certain things.
Their
And
experience.
Experience, that's a better word. And they completely, if you know somebody and you make it open, you're trying to understand something, they will be completely honest with you and they will understand. And you don't want to be rude and ask like bad questions, but if you make it known you're just trying to understand.
And even if
Yeah,
you ask
definitely.
bad questions, preface it with, hey, I don't know if this is bad or not. I still want to ask the question, but like, let me know if I'm crossing a line. Like
Yeah.
that sort of situation.
A lot of people are willing to talk about their experience so that other people can learn. Like if somebody asks me about being blind, I will talk about it a lot. But I just want people to ask. It's better to ask and make a mistake than to make assumptions.
And also, if you have the opportunity, try to talk to multiple people that kind of have that same experience, or like whether that's a certain disability or a gender expression or sexuality or kind of whatever you're wanting to write about, because oftentimes like when Book 4 came out, a certain character was revealed to be asexual, and like the asexual community within the fandom was very divided on kind of like how that was expressed, because like there is so little asexual representation in media. And like, people, like, is a massive umbrella of like what it means to be asexual and like what their experience is, whether they are like sex positive, sex repulsed, sex neutral, and so some people thought that it was like bad representation, and like whereas I like spent 20 minutes projectile sobbing in the bathroom because I had never read something that mirrored my experience so closely. So yeah, like getting kind of trying to get a mix of experiences, kind of a mix of knowledge, so that when you are writing, you aren't kind of sidelined by someone saying like, that's not what my experience is. Well, no, your experience is not the only way to be this. So.
And like, I more so have experience with autism because my brother has it, and reading Elantris, there isn't a character who has autism and then later in the books gets healed of it. Brandon Sanderson made that mistake, in my opinion, and how he handled that kind of character representation. But look at where he is now and how he's handling other things. Making an assumption at the beginning and then getting response from it doesn't necessarily mean you did bad, it just means you have more to learn.
Yeah, and learning is not a bad thing. If you can always make changes moving forward.
Except to a published book 15 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years ago. It's the 20th anniversary next year.
Wow. There's a reason that journey before destination is a saying.
Yes, we're always learning. Really quickly, I want to touch on planning like longer fanfics. And like, I think that like the pantser versus a plotter is kind of a false dichotomy because I think that we're all a little bit of both. But yeah, like if we could just very quickly kind of talk about how you approach writing longer fanfics.
You plan?
You plan, you start writing, you realize that it's getting out of hand, you panic, you rewrite.
Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go out the way.
Exactly.
So what I do is I do plan a little. I will write down, because if I plan it too much, I start writing it. Like I'll be like writing plot points, and then I'll eventually get to something like I'm really interested in and write an entire like 3 paragraphs. What you gotta do is you gotta stay with the plot points, which it's very hard. But if you plan it from like, I mean, you can start from this, like, you don't have to start planning it from the very beginning too. Like, you can start in the middle and plan what you want to happen at the climax of the story, or you can plan what happens at the end, and then work your way back. It's something that it's really helped, because if you have an end goal in mind, it makes it a little bit easier, as easy as it can get with writing fanfics.
Something I like to do for one of my projects in particular that has been an ongoing fic for over 3 years now is I think of each chapter as kind of a self-contained thing. Each chapter has its own arc and almost little mini story. And so once each chapter feels done, that little arc is finished, and then I can weave it and connect it into whatever the next chapter is going to be and whatever the next little arc is going to look like.
As a crossover fanfic writer, I feel like I've got a little bit easier because I have, Vin showing up in the My Hero Academia world, but the My Hero Academia world is already fairly well written. I can follow with those plot points. But always go into it with like, why are you doing this? What fun ideas do you have in store? And there will be times you kind of burn out. I'm in a little bit of a burnout right now, but I know if I get to writing, then I'll get to those cool things I have planned down the line, and you can hint at those things along the way.
Yes. We all kind of dread we always like to have kind of like, we have a strong beginning in mind, we often have a strong ending. I mean, we don't always have a strong ending in mind, but oftentimes like that tends to be a little bit more spelled out in our minds as we're approaching things. But oftentimes we fall victim to what is Jim Butcher calls the big swampy middle. And I found that the best way of approaching that for me is to figure out kind of like, okay, what is the tension of this scene? What is the tension of this like particular kind of like this miniature arc of the story, like what is the tension of this subplot, and like it doesn't have to be like its own separate plot line, but it can be just like, what is this character trying to achieve kind of in this scene, and kind of figuring out an objective for like kind of from the macrocosm to the microcosm, like what does this character want versus what does this character need. That kind of helps me kind of figure out, like, and also just what needs to happen in this scene, what objective do I as the author have. Figuring those out really helps me kind of slot things into place.
It might be a little bit of a cop-out, but time skips are your friend.
They are.
You can use them. And there's and it gives you a chance to explore what they're like, years later. And you don't have to go real deep into the middle if you don't want. But the middle does kind of help a little bit.
Yeah, you don't need to get bogged down in the details, which is something that I get stuck on sometimes. If I get too caught up in thinking, what is this character eating for lunch? That's how I know I need a time skip.
And also, if you don't have a plan, that's perfectly fine. Like I was saying, when I first started writing, doing 3 pages and posting a chapter every single day, it was literally just, here's Vin appearing in this world, what do I think happens? I had no real plan, and then there was like a few chapters, and then it hit, here's what happened in canon. And now I'm on season 2 of the fic, and now I've got like full-page documents, I've got a timeline, I've got plot points labeled out. When you start, you don't need to have everything planned out. You can just start with, here's a fun idea.
It evolves over time.
Yeah, the longest fanfic I ever wrote, which was only 50K, it started from an inkling of an idea, and I told myself, write 1,000 words every day. and you'll get somewhere. I ended up with 50K in a month, and it was not for NaNoWriMo either. So things are possible. But yeah, that's an opportunity that you can explore. Is just give yourself a goal and try to meet the goal. I didn't hit it every day. Sometimes I only got like 800 words, and I still posted that because I was like, they're expecting more. I must feed them. But take the opportunities where they arise.
And also, kind of contradicting myself, you also don't want perfect to be the enemy of good. You don't want to be like focusing so much on planning that you never actually get any writing done, or like, as I sometimes do, spending all your time focusing on like the perfect playlist to get into the head of this character, and then you never get any actual writing done. So yeah, like put your butt in the chair and just like get words out.
I did that once where I did, instead of an entire like one playlist for one character, I just did one song for one character in one playlist, and looked up the lyrics and everything. It got deep.
In coding, we have a term. It's not a bug, it's a feature. Just because you have a plot hole doesn't mean it can't be filled in later, or it can't be a fun little story in of itself.
Okay, Bethesda.
All right, any last thoughts before we move on to talking about mimicking Brandon's style, character, and words? And this is also where we would like folks to start lining up if they have any questions, because we'll be getting into that in about 5 minutes.
Microphone is over here.
Oh yes, yeah, in the second row, right next to the woman with the fabulous hair.
Yes.
Feel free to pick it up and just we'll point,
Stare
wave,
at us.
something.
T-pose in our general direction.
All right, mimicking Brandon's style, character, and worlds. Go.
So I don't write Brandon's fanfics.
So then I guess like the fanfic that you do write, how do you mimic the source material?
Oh no. With DC.
Or do you mimic the source
With
material?
DC,
that's a whole
you
nother
disregard
conversation.
canon. That's what it stands for. Batman is whoever you want him to be. But I think that doing you don't have to do character studies yourself, but reading a lot of them, or going to your local, DC fans' entire Tumblr full of Batman theories, like that's an option where you can like get into what makes the character instead of like what makes that writing style maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I do write a lot of Cosmere fanfic specifically for Stormlight, and sometimes I do try to mimic Brandon's writing style. I more try to stick to the characterization and being faithful to the character and really digging into what makes the character who they are. And so for that, I do a whole lot of both reading fanfic from that involves that character and also rereading passages from canon. Like I said earlier, I've written a lot of fics about Zeth, and I've spent an embarrassing amount of time rereading his perspectives in the books to really get a hold on who he is. So I just really dig into it, I get into it, I spend a whole lot of time thinking about it, and I sit down, open my laptop, and do my best to just present that faithfully, even if the writing style isn't exactly the same as Brandon's. Like, I just let my writing style be what it is and let the characters still stand out.
Yeah, just like in art, references are not bad. You can always look at people whose writing style you admire and take your own notes about like what makes this like appeal to me, what makes it stand out from other people.
One thing I recommend if you don't know a character, if you want to get to know a character, stereotype them. I know that's probably not the best thing, but like getting to know a character, the best way is what are their core personality traits? What makes that person that? And then from there, like Vin, she's like, the way I write her, she's basically Batman. Like, honestly, I think she's pretty much just Batman. She throws knives, lurks in the dark, she's Batman. Just compare your character to another, stereotype them, figure out what their core personality, and then from there, figure out the little things. Start off something with what you know, figure out that, and then get into the little bits later. You don't need to start off with a fully fleshed out, four-dimensional character.
Or like find what you relate to within that character and, either explore that or take from your experience and go, oh, so if I react this way and I see this trait in that character, maybe they would react similar.
Cool, cool. We good to go to audience questions? All right, let's do it.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're calling you out specifically.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh, turn on the microphone. Is it on?
No.
Hello.
There you are.
Okay. So I know you said at the very beginning of the panel, comments fuel us, and as a fic writer myself, I definitely feel that. But also as a fic writer, mostly in smaller fandoms or book fandoms with less engagement, smaller pairings. I write a lot of film/, not as popular.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I was wondering how you guys deal with when there aren't comments, when we're not being fed with that external validation. How do you deal with the lack of motivation?
I talk to my friends about it and they validate me anyway.
Yeah.
I let myself cry for about 5 minutes. I'm kind of weird, but I go to my family about it. I go to my sister and I'm like, dude, you would not believe. I posted this banger and no one talks about it. And she'll usually be like, oh my gosh, let me read it. Or, okay. But she'll validate me in some way. Like going to people you know and trust and love, who care about you, and often can give you more validation than sometimes just random people. Even though it's really nice to have other people from a fandom say something, it can be nicer to have like your best friend go, this was a really good chapter. I enjoyed it, and I think you should continue.
Another thing that helps for me is, especially for fics that I'm really engaged in or that I really want to come over well or that are longer, I ask friends to beta read them, and those comments before I even post the fic really help me feel good about the project, even if it doesn't get as much engagement as I would like.
Cool. Can we go into them, or do you have anything to comment before we go on to the next?
I was gonna say, fanfiction, you write for yourself, and not having comments the comments push you to keep writing and wanting to write more because you know people are reading. I haven't gotten comments on like the last 3 chapter posts I put, so it's like slowed down my writing, but I still want to write the chapter. It's an extra push, and without it, you're just writing at your own pace.
Hi, so I'm sort of wondering, on like a philosophical, anthropological level, why do people write fan fiction? What purpose does it serve? Like, if you were an alien studying humanity and you learned about fan fiction, what conclusions would you draw? And I'm asking not just on the level of like, what does it do for you, but what does it do for the community? What hole does it fill in the Cosmere community or the creativity community as a whole that fan fiction exists?
I think to me, fanfic is just a sign of how much you love the source material, how much you want to explore it, dig into it, see what the characters would do in different situations. You take the source material, you take an aspect that intrigues you, that you either didn't see enough of in canon or that wouldn't happen in canon, or that you just want to explore for any other reason, and you do it because you love it. And it comes, at least for me, from a place of just really, really appreciating the source material and wanting to dig into it for myself in a different way.
I think that it taps into that little part of ourselves that, like, when we were kids, like, our parents would read us our favorite book, and as soon as they finished it, we said, again! And, like, we like to kind of, like, linger in the things that just, like, really click for us, that we really love. Like, we love being in this world, but if we just kept reading the same book infinity times, then, like, it would get very dull. But there's also part of us that, like, well, like, these characters are really fun. I love what the author did with this world, but also, like, where are all the queer people? And also, like, why are these characters, like, I want to see more, like, sibling interaction between Adolin and Renarin. I want to see, like, more cousin interaction between, like, Jasonioan and Elokar and Adolin and Renarin. And, like, all of these things that we joke on the server that Mikah and I belong to, that these books are so long that they need to be longer. And that is, yeah, like, because this world is just so deep and so rich, and there's only so much time that Brandon has to explore them. And so we have, like, okay, like, here is this area that Brandon just doesn't have time to write about, or here's this thing that due to Brandon's prudishness he will never write about. So yeah, like, and like, oh, like, I don't see this disability or this sexuality or this gender expression being written about, and I want to write about it. And so I think that, yeah, like, I don't want to in any way diminish fan fiction by saying that like it's a it can be a stepping stone between like to create your own kind of original works, because I think that it has merit kind of on its own, like not necessarily as a stepping stone. And then there's also the benefit that like when you are writing original works, like you have to find people that are interested in reading it, as opposed to like you have this built-in audience that will be more receptive to reading it. Because yeah, like saying those things does make it feel a little bit more ghettoized, and that is not my intention. I think there's a lot of merit in just like continuing to write about characters and scenarios and worlds that you love.
And people desire control and connection.
Yeah.
If you see a character that you really like and don't see enough works of, you want more of that, and you control that. But then also, like, seeing yourself in these characters and not seeing enough of them can feel like you're not being seen as well. And a part of my just like autism journey was reading fanfics where the characters that I love are autistic, and it helps you to not only connect with other people about the things that you love, but it helps you connect with yourself and explore more of yourself through a medium that can be anything you want it to be. And I think it's really important. And creative expression, good.
Yes, I found out about aromanticism because someone on Tumblr posted this thing like, I think Adolin is aromantic and this is why. I was like, this is a thing? Oh my gosh, that's actually me, holy crow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So you can learn about yourself and explore aspects of yourself that you're already aware of in fanfic. And like somebody said just earlier, you can use fanfic to expand on something that you haven't seen yet in canon. Like characters that have various disabilities that either aren't shown in canon at all or are mitigated in some other way. You can use fanfic to explore what would this look like if this didn't happen, or if there was a character that had this experience that is different from what is expected. And it can be tiring and exhausting, but also rewarding.
Yeah, Mikah has a fabulous fanfic about a blind character who becomes a radiant, and her radiance does not cure her blindness because it's been with her since a very young age. So it would be integrated into part of her spirit web.
Hi. I was wondering what you guys do if you're trying to write a specific scene, you know exactly what needs to happen in the scene, but it just won't come out right. How you sort of work through it and get it to where you want it to be.
Say. Oftentimes, if something isn't clicking, look at what you wrote immediately before. Oftentimes, like if that is not really setting you up to write what comes next, oftentimes that's the culprit. That's where I look first.
There's a trick where if you're stuck on a specific part, go back 10 sentences and see what's there. And sometimes that can help. I've used that before and it does help. Not always, but sometimes.
Or rewrite. You can write it how you currently in your unsatisfied state want it. And then you can go back or take a nap or take a bath, you know, like reset, ground yourself, you know, come back later, and then edit what you have, or just completely rewrite it. Because it's not permanent. You can always make changes and, you know, utilize your talents for that purpose. And you got it.
Take a break, write something else. Like, if I have one problem with one of my stories, I go to the other one and start working on that. And then when you come back to it, wiped clean, fresh, try it again.
Next.
Hi, this is kind of connected. You guys have mentioned this a few times, but I'm curious about editing. You guys have mentioned beta readers, and but also mentioned like I wrote this and I put it up immediately. And so I guess I'm curious about your experience of editing, whether that's something that you do for yourself, you do with other people, and then especially with like a long fic that has like a lot of depth and complications. Is that something where like it's as you're writing it, you're editing it? Do you ever find yourself being like, oh heck, chapter 2 doesn't make sense now that I've posted chapter 17? Like, what's sort of the meta experience of writing?
I typically, I'll write it, and then once I'm done with it, I'll like check for like grammar, and then I'll push it out. The few times I have like a beta writer or a beta editor for Metal Like Roses, they'll go through it, and then once I've got the all clear from them, I'm posting it. I don't really have the time to do the full edit I want to. What'll happen is I'll come back, randomly look at the page and be like, shoot.
I used to, once upon a time, give my stories to my dad and be like, fix it. Because he got a degree in English, he's an adult, he's supposed to know things. And so,
Your
since
dad is
then,
the HR guy
Yeah.
at Dragonsteel. I love that so much.
but since then, I've grown, and I no longer need him. But what I do now is I just don't care, and I will put a little thing in the notes before the story and be like, any suggestions about grammar and plot will be deleted. This is just, you're getting it raw. I am not cooking this for you.
Yeah, sometimes if I just have a little one-shot idea, I'll write the one-shot, like go over it once to check for grammar and things like that, then just post it. But if it's something I'm more invested in or a long fic, I can spend weeks going over it and combing over it for word choice, like this paragraph doesn't sound right, or this isn't flowing the right way. Or sometimes I can get so into the details that I have to have it written first before I can really edit it. So I just have it written and then go over it and refine it and change it until it's as close to, not perfect, but as close to the ideal I have in my head as possible. Then I'll send it to betas and they can often either pick out something I missed, usually typos and spelling because, but also some things that might not flow as well, and then I just, refine it, polish it, and post it, and then sleep for 12 hours.
For me, it depends on what feedback I feel I need. Oftentimes, like the most recent fic that I posted, it was kind of more of a, like, there were surprising elements that I almost didn't want to spoil my friends on, and so I actually didn't have as much of a thorough beta, at least on the later stuff. Certainly while I was trying to kind of figure out what I was doing, I was just kind of asking for some feedback that way. It depends on the type of feedback that I feel like I need. If I want them to sort of be a bouncing board for me to kind of bounce ideas off of, or sounding board, then that's a really great use. In the early days of my writing fanfiction, I cared, I was really pedantic about making sure that my spelling and grammar were absolutely perfect, and now it's fine. And so I don't have that beta process. But yeah, it depends on what feedback I want. And so we have time for one more question, and then we'll do our kind of lightning fast outros. We
can get through this really quick.
Okay. So a lot of my fanfic has come from DMing for D&D, and a lot of maturity in that has come through doing that because my players don't accept stereotypical characters for bad guys a lot. And so I've had to delve a lot into philosophy of why this bad guy would be this way and why they would think they are not a bad guy, right? So how often do y'all in your fan fiction, especially dealing if you're doing Cosmere fanfic or DC or whatever, and you're having to deal with a bad guy, and kind of what is the philosophy that is the core of theirs and why they would think how much has that changed over the time of writing your fan fiction? And is there anything you've gone back to in your early fanfic that you're you know what, now that I understand that character better, I'm gonna go back and rewrite that and reintroduce that?
Usually the villains in my stories are the people themselves, the things that they tell themselves, and the stories that they write in their own head, and the anxiety or the depression or the just random intrusive thoughts. That's not necessarily villain, but just the opposition that they have to find a way to work with or work around, depending on the story. I've never really tried to have a specific villain because I feel like you can do so much exploring within the characters themselves, with them instead of a big bad evil.
I think any villain has most villains, not like the Joker, can be justified into thinking they're the hero of their own stories.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of seeing why they start to do specific actions. You can have a villain that's I need to rule the world because I'm the only one to do it. How does he go about trying to rule the world? Does he just start killing everybody? Why does he immediately go to that? It's figuring out why he does the specific things he does. Is that believable to his greater plan?
All right, where can folks find you at the convention? And if you could give us one or two of your favorite fanfics that you would like to recommend to the audience, things that you did not write.
Okay, I can go first. You can find me in specifically the convention, standing in front of the VIP lounge. You can find my AO3. I will not tell you it. It's between me and God. But my favorite fanfics that I've read are Casting Rain by 3S on AO3, and a really good series by the author Goldkirk on AO3. They're really good. They do a lot of DC.
Yeah, I'll just be around the convention generally. I'm the person with the shaved head, and I'll be Zeth cosplaying today and Saturday. On AO3, like I said earlier, I'm BlindRadiant. Two fics not by me. There's Cosmere Play has a lot of good Chicadoan fics. I can't recommend a specific one because they're all brilliant. And there's also To Mend Without Thread by Hoidbringer. It's an ongoing fic that picks up at the end of Oathbringer, and it's a fascinating canon divergence.
I'm going to be walking around. I'm just a normal person enjoying general thing. I don't have any specific role at like Dragonsteel over here. But two fics I really like. There's this one called Dial where a character gets the Omnitrix and ends up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That one's a lot of fun. And then I would definitely give a shout out to, I don't remember the title or the author, but it is Finn ends up in the Familiar of Zero universe, and that is the one that definitely got me writing fanfiction.
Awesome. So I can be found, I'll have like booth times listed at the Dragonsteel Creative Development booth, which is 119, I believe. And then I also, I'll be at the World Hopper Ball tonight if anyone's gonna be there. And then I have two panels Saturday evening. One is Merch and More, and the other is, and I think that's in Scadrial, and then in Nelvis, the hour afterwards is, oh my gosh, what's my other panel? Fantasy Cartography. And then my fic recs are Glyphwords by Ashurtmarn. It is a Hasina fanfic, and it is wonderful. Basically, it's one of those like 5 times the character did this and 1 time the character didn't. And it is just like some of the most beautiful like character study and like her interactions with her various family members and other people that are important to her. And it is just gorgeous, like I was sobbing. Cannot recommend it highly enough. And then I'm actually going to do 2 for the price of 1. Final 10 Days by Aluminum Oxynitride and Son of Thorns by Truthwatcher Vez.
Yes.
And both are Renarin and Relaine fics that kind of take place like in the time after book 4. And both are just impeccable and amazing, and you need to read them right now. So yes, excellent. So
Really,
thank you so.
Sorry, really quickly, I'm also going to be paneling the perpendicularity theorizing on Saturday. I forgot to bring that up.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. We are so
Thank you
grateful.
so much.
Thank you, and we hope you have a great